Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, July 30th, and our first story is about Ford vehicles that can connect to selected home circuits and provide backup power during an outage.
That makes a driveway to look completely different. A vehicle parked outside could suddenly help part of the house keep going.
Exactly. We usually think of transportation first, but this home connection gives the vehicle another practical role.
So something familiar takes on a new job because of what it connects to. I already like where this is going.
And that gives us today's shared theme, connections that change how we see something we thought we knew.
Now I am curious. What other links are we following?
Not quite. We have a Ford vehicle that can support selected circuits at home, NASA linking its huge data resources with federal computing and AI capabilities, and a Los Angeles yogurt brand arriving in London. A driveway, a science mission, and a 12-pound cup of frozen yogurt. That menu took a very confident turn. It did, but every story shows what can happen when places, tools, or people are brought together in a new way. I like that. The settings are wildly different, but each story begins when something reaches beyond its usual place. If you are new here, welcome to Cafe Talk. We turn real news into natural English conversations you can enjoy with your morning drink.
And if you're already part of our cafe crew, pull up your usual chair. We saved you a spot.
Please subscribe so you can join us for a fresh conversation every day.
Your coffee gets company, your English gets practice, and we all get 3 surprising stories to discuss. Today's keyword is connection, spelled C-O-N-N-E-C-T-I-O-N.
Oh, that fits. One good link can make an ordinary object, a pile of data, or even dessert feel completely different.
Exactly. We'll look at what's being connected, then ask whether that link changes how we see the whole story.
I'm ready. Let's start with the largest backup item anyone has parked outside. Ford's F-150 Power Boost Hybrid and F-150 Lightning can connect to selected home circuits and supply backup power, giving eligible vehicles a new role during an outage.
That's a serious upgrade from gets me across town. The vehicle in the driveway can suddenly help the house keep going.
Yes, and the Ford system starts at about $1,100, with professional installation charged separately.
I appreciate that second part being said clearly. My budget likes the first number, then quietly asks what separately will do to it.
That is the practical question. The equipment price is one piece, and the required professional installation is another.
So this is not an accessory I toss into an online cart beside floor mats. A real home connection needs real planning.
The Lightning can provide power for 2 to 3 days, depending on how it's used.
Depending on use would turn me into a very strict manager. I would be staring at every switch like it had requested overtime.
That reaction makes sense because the time is conditional. It's not a promise that every home will get the same result.
Right. The useful question is not only how many days, it's also what are we choosing to use during those days?
The Power Boost Hybrid can provide power for as long as 5 days when it begins with a full tank.
That sounds reassuring, but I'd still write maximum in very large letters on my mental note.
Good instinct. The confirmed figure is up to 5 days, not a guaranteed 5-day supply for every situation.
That kind of wording is useful in real life. It keeps reassurance from turning into a promise.
Exactly. Ford says about 200,000 vehicles are eligible for this setup. That number makes the idea feel less like a distant experiment and more like a real option for a defined group of owners. The interesting connection is physical and practical. A vehicle links to chosen circuits and takes on work people may not associate with a driveway.
It changes the first thing I would notice outside my window. I'd see transportation, but also a possible layer of backup.
And that's the careful takeaway. The vehicle doesn't replace every power plan. It offers a specific option with stated equipment, installation, and usage conditions. I can live with that. Useful, conditional, and much too large to forget in the junk drawer. NASA has joined the Genesis mission, a national effort using AI to tackle complex science and technology challenges, and its large research data collection is now part of that collaboration.
That is a completely different kind of backup. Instead of opening a garage, they're opening access to years of accumulated information.
More than 15 federal agencies are participating in the mission.
My group chats become confusing with 5 people. More than 15 agencies trying to work toward one effort is a huge connection by itself.
NASA is bringing more than 150 petabytes of data gathered over many years into the picture.
My phone complains when I save too many cafe photos, so that amount is beyond anything my storage warning can emotionally process.
The scale is striking, but the key point is what the agency plans to link it with, the Department of Energy's computing and AI capabilities.
That pairing feels like bringing a vast library to a very powerful work table. The books matter, and so does the place where people can work with them.
That's a helpful image. It feels like the beginning of a huge piece of work, not the finish line.
I like that. A big announcement can sound like the finish line when it's really the moment everyone enters the same room.
Exactly. More than 15 agencies are part of that shared effort, and NASA is linking its data with the Department of Energy's capabilities.
Then the excitement comes from the ingredients being connected, not from a finished result.
That's where today's keyword earns its place. The connection is between the people, the data, and the tools.
That list is already substantial. It doesn't need a science fiction ending added to it.
The phrase join forces fits the action naturally. More than 15 federal agencies are participating in one national effort.
That's a lot of moving parts to coordinate. Also, imagine the calendar invitation for that meeting.
Your joke points to the human side of connection. Linking resources sounds simple in one sentence, but the value here begins with deciding to work together.
And it makes old data feel active again, not because we know what it will reveal, but because it's being brought into a new working relationship.
Well put. This story asks us to watch the connection itself before we rush ahead to possible outcomes.
My curiosity can wait at the starting line. It brought a notebook, but it won't invent the results.
Go Greek Yogurt, a brand from Los Angeles, has arrived in Mayfair, and its frozen yogurt has become a notable summer craze in London.
That is a sweeter connection than the first two. A Los Angeles shop idea crosses the ocean, then people in London line up with spoons ready.
Celebrity support is part of the story, too.
Honestly, the line interests me more than the names. If I see a crowd outside a food shop, my stomach becomes extremely curious.
A queue of as many as 150 people was observed.
That is the point where I check my phone battery, my shoes, and how deeply I believe in dessert.
The wording matters here, too. As many as 150 describes the observed maximum, not the permanent length of the queue.
Good, because I was picturing the same 150 people living there forever, slowly becoming a yogurt neighborhood.
The cup costs £12.
At that price, I would read the menu with the concentration I usually save for a contract.
£12 is enough to make that cup feel like an event, not an everyday snack.
At that price, my wallet would want a full conversation before I joined the queue.
What fascinates me is the travel in the story. A brand begins in one city, arrives in a specific neighborhood in London, and becomes part of a summer food conversation there. Food can make geography feel personal. Suddenly, Los Angeles and Mayfair are connected by a cold cup someone is carrying down the street. Together, the details create a vivid scene. Celebrity support, a queue observed at as many as 150 people, and a £12 cup. That's a lot for one dessert to carry. I'd be watching the line, the cups, and the faces of people taking the first bite. It also gives us a useful everyday question. When you see a long queue, does it increase your interest or send you towards a quieter cafe?
I pretend I'm above the hype, then I slow down, look at the cups, and check whether the line is moving. My dignity has conditions.
Mine does too. This connection is cultural and geographical, but the most visible part is wonderfully ordinary. People deciding whether a frozen treat is worth the wait. And after vehicles and petabytes, ending with a cup and a queue brings the whole conversation back to street level. Which of today's connections changed the way you looked at something familiar? The vehicle and house surprised me most. I usually see a parked truck as waiting, not as something that could support selected circuits. I keep returning to the Genesis mission. The careful part is exciting. Data, computing, and AI are being connected before anyone claims a finished discovery. And the yogurt story wins the strongest visual. 1 cup, a serious price, and a queue that could make my afternoon schedule nervous. Here is our question for you. Which story would you choose? A. Vehicle backup power. B. NASA's shared science effort. Or C. London's frozen yogurt craze.
I choose A because the connection between a driveway and a home changes the role of something already sitting nearby.
I choose B because bringing established data and federal capabilities together creates a meaningful starting point without promising an outcome. C still deserves respect. Any dessert that makes me evaluate my shoes before joining a line has real presence. Tell us your choice and your reason in the comments. Any language is welcome, and an emoji is welcome too. Subscribe before you go so tomorrow's cafe conversation can find its way back to you. Take today's word with you. Connection. Look for what is being linked and notice how that link changes the role, scale, or feeling of what you already know. A vehicle can connect with a home, an agency can connect data with powerful tools, and a yogurt brand can connect 2 cities through one very visible summer moment. Thanks for spending part of your Thursday with us. We'll be back tomorrow with 3 more stories and another useful word. See you tomorrow. Keep noticing the connections hiding in ordinary places.